up. We just say, you know what? You're past. Okay, shh, don't say anything, because you get somebody hurt. Now we are up saying hello to everybody, waiting for some folks to come on. But these crazy people, I don't want everyone to know just how crazy everybody else is. And do not ask Representative Reynolds at all. He is alive and well. All we're gonna say is, "You good?" Okay, that's all we want to know. You're good. That's right. We've got Texas State Representative Reynolds here, and he is good. Everybody, don't ask him where he is, because Senator Cornyn got the FBI to agree to get out there and arrest these people, and it's gonna be all right. They're gonna do what they're gonna do, and we're gonna do what we need to do. How about that, Ariel? You see, Ariel will roll with with getting arrested. Oh my gosh, here we go. So we're coming up in 2, 3. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It's a joy to be with you. We've got a lot to talk about today. These tariffs just kicked in. It got very, very expensive all over the country to purchase our products. Now, how expensive is it going to be for you to purchase products in the stores? The president says that's not coming, but it is. But we're going to talk about this. Wow. We thought that redrawing the districts, the congressional districts in Texas, was going to be something mid-decade. But now the president wants to have a whole new census mid-decade, excluding everyone who is a non-citizen. People who are people only, and we have got to talk about. Oh, well, you know what? I'm going to start again. Gotta come up. It's okay. Everybody, let me make sure I'm off. Okay. Then we're going to come up, and here we are. AM 950 Radio, the Santita Jackson Show. Hey, everybody. It is a joy to be with you today. We've got a lot to talk about. A new US Census in the middle of the decade. It's almost unprecedented. And the tariffs have kicked in. How expensive will it be for you to purchase products? We're going to get a quick word about that from brilliant economist Dr. Julian Malveaux. And of where is Waldo? I mean, the Texas State Democrats. Well, we've got Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds. We don't want to know. We just want to know if you're good. But you're good, right? Because Kash Patel accepted your Senator John Cornyn's request to have you all arrested. And in this environment, since they have been arresting and manhandling elected officials, I believe them. When people tell you who they are, believe them, Ariel Gold.
Right.
And I think we need to be very, very clear that what Texas has been pushing for, what the Texas Democrats in particular have been looking at, well, guess what? Now we see that this plan has been afoot with the Republicans for a minute, because now the president has called for something that is almost unprecedented, a mid-decade census, excluding anyone who's not a U.S. citizen. The U.S. Census is supposed to include everyone who is on our shores. We need to have a count for a whole lot of reasons. Just we need to know who's here. Legal residents, people are holding work visas, students, all of that. You need to know. You need to know that so you can figure out how many hospital beds you need. Just where the resources are. And we're going to hear about the importance of the census from an elected official, Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, the information that you get from the census. And of course, you can tell us about that too, Dr. Malveaux. I mean, and I think that as a social worker, you can understand how you would be able to tell us, Ariel Gold, just how important it is to know who is where. But that he wants to eliminate. And I cannot help but think that has something to do with the browning of America.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you exclude them, if you pull them out, America gets whiter and it gets older. That is dangerous, everybody, because it's number one, it's just not true. America has never been a white country. Number one, indigenous people, this is their land. Then in several states during slavery, black people, enslaved people, outnumbered white people. Mm-hmm. So just stop. Cease with the fiction that this has been a white country. It's not been white. Immigrants did not build this country. Enslaved people built it on stolen land. And we built a country that enabled people who needed to get out of monarchy and get out from under the boot of oppression. Then they could come here and get jobs and create new lives for themselves. That's the real American story. Stop with this myth. This myth. And it's not that immigrants did not contribute. We wouldn't be the country who we are becoming without people coming to the United States. But you be very clear, we became this economic superpower because we were on land that we did not have to pay for, built by people you did not pay, people who you bred so you could get more of them to go to work. Black people built the White House twice. The first time, and then when it was burned down in 1812. Yeah, the Library of Congress, yeah, all of those buildings in Washington, all of those monuments, yeah, we built them. I'm not mad at anybody. I'm just saying, let's tell the truth. So when you want to have a census in which you exclude all of these people, all the people who populate America, are you serious? In the middle of the decade, what are you trying to pull? I mean, how desperate are these people? This is something we got to talk about today. So everybody, I want you to like and share. Meet me on X at Santita J, Santita. Meet me on Facebook, Santita Jackson and Friends. I'm so touched that so many of you are reaching out to me. But look, Facebook caps you on the personal page, on the Santita Jackson page. So please do me this favor. Please, please, please go to the Santita Jackson and Friends page. That's the only place where I can accept new friends. Otherwise, they're kicking people off, and that's not it's not my fault. It's not my fault, everybody. Not my fault. And then I'm on Blue Sky. Santita Jackson, at santitajackson.bsky. That's social. So let's get right to it. Kash Patel has said that he is going to take Texas Senator John Cornyn up on his offer. He said, yeah, we're going to send FBI agents. This is a federal issue now, everybody. He's deploying them wherever these Democrats are who serve in the Texas state legislature. We're going to arrest them and make them come in. Wow. We've got Ariel Gold, Fellowship of Reconciliation. We've got Dr. Julian Malveaux, brilliant economist, President Emeritus of Bennett College for Women, and Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds. But before we get into all of this, I wanted to ask you just very quickly, Dr. Malveaux, about these tariffs. I mean, I don't know about you, Ariel and Representative Reynolds, but look, I love getting my bargains. And I don't think Americans really understand the extent to which these tariffs are really going to impact us. How much this is going to spike the prices of the products that we buy. Now, we're already stretched. People are already using Klarna and Afterpay and whatever else to buy pizza, to buy their groceries. I mean, what are these tariffs going to mean? The president says that the prices are not going to rise. We got our girl Ronnie. You know she's driving, Ariel. But we're glad she's here. My goodness. But well, Dr. What's this going to mean?
It means prices are going to go up, plain and simple. Tariffs are a tax. The Yale Budget Lab, which is one of the best, said that we could expect price increases of about 18.5%. It's going to depend on the product, and it's going to depend on where the product comes from. Already Canada, which is one of our major trading partners, they're talking about 35% for Canada because he's mad at Canada because they don't kiss his, you know what?
Ring.
Oh, that's a good. Okay. See, my brain didn't work like that, Santita.
I know.
but anyway, Canada, Brazil, because he's mad because Bolsonaro is in trouble. He increased a tariff on Brazil. We can go down the list of countries. He's holding off on China. He's holding off on Mexico because the sister who's president there has said, let's renegotiate. So he's holding off on a few countries, but 66 countries have additional tariffs slapped on them. 66 countries.
So this is like our coffee, because that's Brazil, right?
Yeah, that's Brazil.
I mean,
but just about anything you think of, 20% more parents went to buy school supplies early, have bought them now because they were concerned about what tariffs was going to do around school supplies, because a lot of the school supplies come from, especially China. all the little tchotchkes that the children have, little lunch boxes, all those things. A lot of that comes from China. So a lot of parents shopped early, but that's an indicator. They shopped early because they were afraid. So many Americans are afraid. Now, there are all these other products that we have to be concerned about in the medium run: aluminum, steel. These talked about additional tariffs on those. So basically, what you have, decision makers can't make decisions because they don't have enough information. And so you basically have an economy that's in a holding pattern, because not only are tariffs increasing, but you have a president who is at best volatile. And what I mean is, so there's a tariff today, I'll change my mind. And meanwhile, you're planning. Small businesses are especially impacted because they have to plan ahead, because the volume that they buy often is too small for them to take advantage of the bargains that a Target or a Walmart may get. Although we don't go to Target anyway, but that's just saying. But in any case, this is an indication of economic stability. Meanwhile, the president's crowing, saying, "Oh, we're gonna get more jobs." We're not gonna. We don't have the infrastructure to create jobs at this level. We don't have the infrastructure to manufacture the way that we used to. I mean, once upon a time, we did manufacture, and we might manufacture again. But tomorrow, are we manufacturing? No. Tomorrow, so this is the issue. We have an economy that is basically stuck, and all of us are going to pay the price. And in India, the stock market opened today with the stocks falling. It kind of halfway stabilized, but they'll get a 25% or 30% tariff increase. India. So you go around the globe, and what you find is basically someone who has been extraordinarily disruptive. And in the long run, Santita, the problem is we were really seen as the world's economic engine. We enjoyed enormous privilege because we saw ourselves as the world's economic engine, and others deferred to us. What this has done is it's weakened the dollar, but it's also tarnished our world economic image. So we just use we ain't who we used to be.
Well,
ain't who it used to be.
And I don't think we know that. But I don't think we really understand that. That also we got way ahead of the world, but the other part of the world is catching up. If you didn't believe it, think about the Olympics and basketball. We used to dominate. I know that might sound really simple, but I heard a commentator say the American women, they struggled this time, and so did the men. They said now they used to be able to just claim the gold medal. He said, but in coming years, that will not be the case. And you know what? That's going to be it for us. But, moving forward, we're going to continue to talk with you, Dr. Malvo, because I think that people really need to understand also these countries are going to they're turning to BRICS. Yes. These folks, look, you've got the Sahel nations, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. They said, wait. They're telling people to get out. Wait, and they mean it. So but very quickly, Ariel, because you have talked about being a mother who needed assistance when you were in school. I mean, when your children were young. I mean, I get it. I remember looking at those S&H green stamps for my parents, for my mom.
I grew up on them too. My mom would send me to the store with those paper money, like Monopoly money, but you got food for it.
Yeah, look, I was excited, and that was like my little task to get the S&H green stamps. And wait a minute, we had TV dinners too.
When ours first came through, it was like a bonanza, right? My mom would be like, "Well, you can buy a little extra because we just got the food stamps this month, so get all the essentials, but like we could get a little treat, So I remember every time the food stamps came through, because it also meant my brother and I could pick out a little treat as well.
Oh wow. But this is going to be a very interesting.
That don't happen anymore. Even now, my mom still got food stamps for a number of years. She lives with me now. She's on very low Social Security, and I take care of her. But until we just gave up on that system, she still got them. And about every 6 months, we would get a letter in the mail that they'd been reduced again by another $30, $50, whatever. This is from nothing down to, $50 less than nothing. It's a regular experience. They also, we hear about the big cuts, but they're also just cut all the time.
We get chopped.
The prices go up.
We're the ones who pay. Well, you know what? Let's hop onto this because we're going to continue to talk about this issue because, again, everybody, the Doge cuts, all these cuts, they have been structured to hit us in November of 2026. Yes. We're so glad that Ronnie and Patrice is joining us, and she said, you know what? I'm traveling, but I want to join in, and we need you here. But first, let's go to, we've got this census that's coming. It seems that Texas has been American microcosm, State Representative Ron Reynolds. I mean, what you and we were on yesterday, we were explaining to one of our guests, we love that what you're doing is not performative. What you're doing is sounding an alarm. It's like, no, do we have the votes? No, but you have put forth, you really brought up the American conversation on gerrymandering, on mid-decade redistricting, which is what you don't do that. And so now the president has called for something that is historic because it costs so much money to do a mid-decade, with no money. Okay, a mid-decade census. First of all, how are you doing? Because now Senator Cornyn from the great state of Texas reached out to Kash Patel, the head of the FBI. He said, I need you to consider sending out your agents to arrest these Texas state Democrats. Now, mind you, this is as he is trying to move people from Washington out into the 50 states and territories. So clearly, I don't think he's not going to do that. Because it's performative, right?
That's
so
right.
First of all, why don't you respond to that first, and then take us into the census and.
Which one do you want me to respond to first?
Start with Kash Patel and facing imminent arrest.
So it's always an honor to be on with such an amazing panel. I have such the utmost respect for each of these three phenomenal ladies. And I will tell you firsthand, when Senator John Cornyn, our senior senator, US Senator from Texas, sent the letter directly addressed to FBI Director Kash Patel, I knew that the fix was in, because we know that they were itching to get involvement in a state matter that they have no really business involved in. None of us have done anything to breach any federal law. And so this is something that the state of Texas would normally be involved in on its own in terms of law enforcement. And they don't have jurisdiction outside of Texas. And so what did Senator Cornyn do? He sent the letter to Kash Patel to say, hey, I want the Department of Justice, because he's running for re-election. Let's not forget that he's running, and he has a primary challenger by the name of Ken Paxton, who was our Attorney General, who's already said that he would hunt us down. So I want the context to be clear that Senator Cornyn couldn't be outdone by Attorney General Paxton, who said he wanted to hunt us down. And so here we are, where we get word that President Trump says, yes, I approve of this. And then the next thing we learned yesterday, that the Justice Department was now with the FBI was going to be assisting in ascertaining the whereabouts of these fleeing fugitive Democrats from Texas that have done the most heinous thing by breaking quorum, so that they can bring us back under the arrest to Texas to bring us to the Capitol, so that we can make quorum, meaning that we will have the number of people and bodies on the House floor so they can ram through this racial gerrymandered redistricting bill. That's it in a nutshell. And so we received a bomb threat at our hotel yesterday, and that was unfortunate. But thankfully everyone was safe. But Santita, we remain undeterred. We remain committed to fighting, to making good trouble, to holding out. We have received notice that we are likely being tracked. Our cell phones, our whereabouts. We had to change locations from where we were. So we know that there is a high probability because of President Trump.
Hold on 1 second. It's so interesting that while you're talking, we're getting all of this noise. Yep, y'all call me paranoid. Dr. Alvin Toussaint said, if you are Black and an American, you're not paranoid. You are crazy. God make rest in peace. So, but it's very
Just because you're
interesting.
paranoid don't mean they're not out to get you.
Yeah, I mean, but now that he's talking, we got all this, but that's all right. But you keep on talking,
Well,
Representative Reynolds. Go
yeah.
on.
So the interesting thing is that we have received intelligence that you all are being your phones are being now monitored, and you're being tracked. So turn off your location, numerous things. So the bottom line is this is unprecedented, y'all. We've never had a situation where the Department of Justice and the FBI was involved in a state matter that had no federal implications in terms of crimes, right? We've committed no federal crimes. And it's sad that now you're weaponizing the Department of Justice and the FBI like they don't have more pressing things to do than to round up Democrats that have the audacity to break quorum. And so this is creating a authoritarian rule and regime by President Trump and his fascism. And the fact that this happened in America should be alarming, because this is what separates us from other countries that are ran by dictators. But we're seeing now that President Trump is operating as though he is a dictator in chief, a king, someone who can unilaterally use and weaponizing the federal agents to do his bidding. That's what we have right now. And so everyone should know this isn't normal. We can't normalize it, even though we get whiplash. And we become desensitized because there's been so many things that President Trump has done over and over again through executive order. We can't become so desensitized that we act as though it's normal. It's not okay. If this was President Biden or former President Obama or former President Clinton, they would be held up for impeachment proceedings for this type of things. But this is something the Supreme Court has given him carte blanche and said that he has immunity from official acts. So this is what the dissent, those Supreme Court Justices Sotomayor feared in her dissent, that he could then turn the Department of Justice, federal troops, the National Guard on people and be okay. So I want people to wake up and understand that our democracy is under siege in America. And I'm not being hyperbolic, Santita. I'm saying this as someone who right now I could be getting a knock on the door, or the door knocked down from the FBI to extradite me back. So this is real. This is real. This is real.
The latter, not the former. Knock on the door, no.
But,
no. But let's be very clear. We've never had this. We're not. Remember COINTELPRO, okay? This is not something with which we should not be going back. But this is where we've been. The FBI building still bears the name of the ultimate authoritarian, racist, someone. I mean, they've been implicated in the killing, at least of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and all these other people. So come on. I mean, this is kind of how we get down. We've had no reckoning about their involvement in Fred Hampton's killing. I mean, let's just, this is what the thing is. We're going to have to make a decision about the kind of country that we want to become, not who we've been. Because Representative, this is the playbook. It's sad that we haven't gotten away from this. The church committee, Rania, Ariel, and Dr. Malvo, it was supposed to have taken us away from this when they started exposing what the CIA and the FBI did. But then, here we are.
Here we are.
Let me get. I haven't heard from Rania yet. Rania, can you speak?
I can. I'm actually at the airport now.
Okay.
So, know.
Well, no. I mean, so what do you make of this? I mean, because you got these Democrats, these Americans, start there, who are standing up and saying, wait a minute, you cannot just, first of all, I have a right to protest for my rights. I have the right to demonstrate. And I have an obligation to stand up for my constituents. And now I'm sitting here hoping that they don't, well, if they break down the door, at least it would be live. You'd have a witness. How about that part?
But I think if we're all being just real honest, like this was always the intention. It's always been the intention to criminalize protest and to silence everybody. And granted, they started, I think, intentionally with Palestinian people, but the reason, they started with Palestinian people is I think because they thought no one would care. Well, that wasn't true. But it's not never let some resistance stand in the way of some fascism. So I think this is where we're at right now. They're pushing to the next level, and the next level, and the next level. But the intent was always to silence and always to threaten and always to scare into submission. And the reality is, folks who are in this country, even if they have the proper paperwork, God, if they're undocumented, that's a whole nother thing. It has worked on them, understandably, because showing up is literally risking your life, and your entire existence. And so the fact that they're doing it to our really incredible leaders like Representative Reynolds and so many others unfortunately, it just doesn't feel very surprising to me. It's the intent. It was always the intent.
It was always the intent. I mean, because now, Ariel, we see this mid-decade push for the census. So I'm really glad that the Texas State Democrats, Ariel, have run away, because we were talking about redistricting at the beginning of the week, but now, just days into the week, Ariel, a census.
I have to agree with Rania. This isn't new. This isn't an aberration. This is part of U.S. history, right? And we have had some amazing successes in rights and immigrant rights and so on. But what we're experiencing right now is not an aberration. It's actually what is the norm for the U.S. Let's not forget that during World War II, we interned Japanese Americans in concentration camps. Let's not forget the Chinese Exclusion Act. Let's not forget the acts to keep Syrians out of the United States. This is actually the U.S. behaving in the history of the U.S., and our work is cut out for us, as it long has been. And Representative Reynolds is right. We are losing our democracy, which are the gains we have made, hard fought gains, and we are watching them slip away before our eyes. And it's really hard it was really hard to get those gains in the first place. And once they're gone, it is just as hard to get them back. It is not a simple thing. If we think back to the Trump term, the damage he did then, Biden didn't undo it. Most of those things he left in place. And here we are with the Trump administration. And yeah, we are watching fascism in real time. I had this period, and I'll probably go back to it, but after Trump came into office, of like researching and watching the rise of the Third Reich, not so much what happened later, but like how did that manage to happen. And some of it was happenstance, some of it was the way things came together, and this kind of lucked out and that kind of lucked out, and others were planned, and that's what we're watching. And there are so many similarities that it is terrifying, and we have to not think that we are exaggerating and just being overly worried, which is what Representative Reynolds said, right? This is real, and this is really scary, and we need to think strategically and we need to come together, and we need to take this with the gravity that it is, because we are watching our hard-fought gains disappear before our very eyes.
Like this. I mean, literally like this. This administration, well, they laid it all out in Project 2025. They said they were going to do what they were going to do. And a lot of people say, oh, he's just extreme. He doesn't mean that, but he did mean it. In fact, one of the individuals who wrote the economic piece for Project 2025, Maria, he is now going to be appointed as the interim chair of the Fed. So, the chair of the
and what is that about? Yeah, he's. I mean, because what is that about? What would be the impact of that?
Two members of the Fed, of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, did not agree with Jerome Powell, who wanted to keep interest rates steady. Here's why. This administration has been running around talking about how good the economy is doing. The economy is on fire. Well, number one, if the economy is on fire, the wrong solution is to lower interest rates. If the economy is on fire, you raise interest rates, because when the economy is on fire, that means you're inflationary, expansion, and you lower interest rates make it easier to expand, easier to borrow money. We don't want that right now. But this guy, he has all these ideas. Go back to Project 2025, and two members of this woman, actually, it's not the chair. It's this woman who resigned. She's gone back to teaching, and but he's the one that the president has said, if they can run Powell out, then this Marino guy will be the new chair of the Fed.
Yeah.
Now, Powell his term doesn't end, or his term ends in May of 26. So he's already indicating that this is the direction he's going in. So Project 2025 will be in charge of the Federal Reserve. Again, this is going to destabilize our currency. It is going to be inflationary. And this is what they want. I always say this, and you always talk about, who's behind the curtain, and I agree with you. But if I didn't know any better, I would think that Trump and Putin have a thing going on. Because destabilizing the United States benefits whom? Destabilizing the United States benefits Russia, quite frankly. And I'm not casting aspersions on anybody. I'm just looking at what the numbers are saying. What the numbers are saying is that this is a difficult time. And I'm not speechless, because I'm never speechless, Santita, but I'm very concerned about the direction and the lack of information and the downward spiral that we have in terms of lack of information, then cutting education. And so, as an example, who was I talking to?
But hold that thought, because see, I would be more concerned with China, because China's the economic powerhouse.
Yeah.
And there was an article that just came out today that said that the hammer they have over the head of America is that they can pull a kill switch and kill our grid. See, there's so much that we don't know. We keep looking at Russia. That Russia is not as strong as China. The economic powerhouse of the world, you know this better than anyone. Officially, they got the biggest economy, and they're just growing. So
exponentially. Not only this, it's important to know. I forgot the other day that I was the president of Push to Excel, our education arm. I didn't really forget, but it didn't come up. But anyway, China is building universities while we're closing them.
Thank you.
Schools of engineering in China are growing exponentially. We're starving universities. And so when you look at China, they could have our lunch any day that they wanted to. They could just have a little ketchup on it and have our lunch.
I heard George Carlin. Oh boy, we miss him now. Yeah, he died in 2008. He said, you know what? The oligarchs, the people who run this world, he said, it's a club and you ain't in it. These people want to keep you uneducated. Yeah. They want to keep you unskilled, because then you become a servile class who are perpetually scared. They pay you slave wages, and they live off the fat of the land. I mean, and so we have to really look at understand what it is that we are looking at, because anytime these people, whoever they put out front, you ought to go behind the curtain. They said last week that these people went in, that this man walked across Park Avenue with a rifle, Ariel and Rania, looking for the NFL. The only people he touched were the folks in real estate. And they knew something happened because that was the Blackstone building. They closed it down for a week. The person he killed was the head of the Blackstone Real Estate Trust. What? And then he went to Rudin Management. They control the real estate in New York City. I mean, there's something else that's going on here. And we're watching, like you said, authoritarianism writ large. So when you hear people who don't understand what you're doing, Representative Reynolds, I mean, because yesterday when you were on the show, we had a guest who was representative of that. I was like, no, he didn't just get on to, they're not living off the fat of the land. I mean, you're literally walking around Chicago when we were together the other day, kind of looking over your shoulder. As well you ought, because look, welcome to the movement. You're always surveilled in my space. I don't know a day when I've not lived under surveillance. So welcome. This is a very, very real thing. And they would arrest you and do what, Representative Reynolds? I mean, what would they do? I mean, do they book you? Do you get a mugshot? How does this work?
The main thing, as I understand it, is that they would take us under arrest. Anytime you're not free to leave, then you're in custody. You're under arrest. And so it's my understanding that they would arrest us. I don't know if they would do the booking, but they would transport us to the Texas Capitol onto the floor of the House of Representatives. I just don't know if there is a pit stop to get you booked first. So, but the ultimate destination would not be the jail. It would be on the House floor, because the main purpose that they're trying to secure is a quorum, a majority in the House. Okay. And so that is what they would be attempting to do. And I'm here to tell you that I'm willing to go to jail. I'm willing to
Why?
Because as I reflect on, just to put it all in perspective, of course, this group and you're well read and well-informed viewers know that yesterday was the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. I know, based on that history, that it didn't come from just some negotiations across the table. It came because people that came before me had the unmitigated gosh to make good and necessary trouble by protesting, by walking, by taking bus rides, freedom rides, sitting in lunch counters. They did everything they could to break Jim Crow segregation. And many of them paid the ultimate sacrifice. And so when I think about what they did for the freedoms and liberties that I have, it pales in comparison to what the challenges that I'm facing. And so I try to keep in perspective, my life isn't in danger, even though I may be inconvenienced. I know I'll be out of jail. I know that I may suffer these fines that they're imposing, but I don't have to worry about being lynched, right? Or beaten with a billy club or a German Shepherd. So those are things that they faced. Those are not the challenges that I face. So I keep that in perspective, and I try to say, and I try to remind my colleagues that we got it so much easier. And so let's not get too comfortable and complacent and think that we are above any kind of good and necessary trouble, because many people, they would have laughed if they could only face the consequences. And I'm not making light of what we may face. That is not to take away, but I want to keep it in perspective. So that's why I say, because the stakes are too high. The stakes are disenfranchising Black and brown districts. And we have to make it plain. Congressman Al Green's seat is being taken away. and make it Republican. Let's make it plain. Let's put a face and a name on it, because sometimes we say generic stuff and we don't realize it is people that are being impacted. His constituents that are they're my constituents. They are being basically redistricted to merge into the 18th congressional district. Congresswoman Crockett, she's been redistricted out of her district and to the 33rd congressional district by Mark Vesey. So you can have one black seat in Houston, one black seat in Dallas. Instead of, we should be expanding, not subtracting. So that is why it's worth me getting into good trouble, and why my colleagues and I have said this is worth taking a stand. This is worth risking expulsion from the legislature. But you know what? Just like they did with the Tennessee Three, really, they only did it to the two brothers, the Justin and Justin. The white lady, they let her make it for whatever reason. I don't know. Y'all have to.
But they did. But she did. But yeah, but she did stand with him, and I appreciate.
She did stand with him. No, I'm saying that she didn't get expelled.
Yeah, no. I'm with you, but I mean, I appreciate.
I was making a point. The point I'm making is
right.
They won their reelection. I'm prepared to be expelled right now, Santita. As I talk to you today, there's a strong possibility that I could be expelled. But the seat, it belongs to the people, and I believe just like they did. They ran and they were reelected because they stood on business. They stood on principle. And the thing I hear most from Democrats that they're disappointed with, and why the poll numbers are low, because they don't think Democrats are willing to fight. They don't think Democrats are willing to take a stand and stand on business. They think that we're weak and timid. And guess what? We have been, for the most part, afraid to stand up to Trump. I'm proud that Cory Booker stood on the Senate floor and called out his Democratic colleagues. I'm proud that he did that. I'm proud that President Obama recently did the same thing. And all I'm saying is there comes a time when you have to take a stand and say, what side of history are you going to be on? I'm choosing the side of good trouble.
If you are arrested and brought back to the State House, to the legislature, to the floor, will you remain under arrest? Will they take you to jail? I mean,
that's a possibility. I mean, okay. As I understand it, again, Santita, I want to be clear. We're in uncharted territory because this hasn't happened. The last time we broke quorum, like when I met you in 2021. We knew that there were threats of jail, but we didn't have the president of the United States with the Justice Department breathing down our throats. It was more of a bluff, like trying to get us back. Now they mean business. They knocking at folks' doors. I got colleagues. We got reports back from Texas that DPS troopers are showing up in people's Ring cameras. So they looking for folks right now. They are actively looking for members. All of us are not here. And so it's a very concerning thing if you're anywhere in Texas right now. Or the other concern is if they're going to have the Department of Justice, have the FBI escort us back. So that's the kind of real paradigm shift. We find ourselves in a real predicament where Trump is trying to flex and show that he is to be feared. That is a part of authoritarianism. That's a part of living in fascism. You rule by fear. And then other people are afraid to then speak up and because they've made an example out of us. There's nothing more that they will want to do. They did that to those elected officials that had the audacity to go and try to look at what they were doing with those ICE detention centers. Look, they showed, I don't care if you're a U.S. senator. I don't care if you're a member of the U.S. House of Representatives. I will take you down and arrest you. And then they say, well, if they could do it to them, I don't stand a chance. I'm not going to get in trouble. So that is what we're seeing right before our very eyes. President Trump, he wants to be just like Putin and other dictators. And that is what he's doing right now. I'm very concerned that he's turning this country away from a a democracy or a democratic republic into a system of dictator and fascism, and more. He wants to operate as a king, and that is why he's already talking about a third term, because he realizes that the Constitution and the laws don't apply to him because he feels like he's above the law. Like, what is that? These court orders. What are these judges? What, they can't stand in my way. And so basically, the U.S. Supreme Court is now taking away federal appeals court's ability to have injunctive relief. We're seeing unprecedented times. I think it's so much happened. As soon as you digest one thing, another thing happens. So we really don't even fully the gravity of what he's already done in 7 months is already perplexing. The history books, when all this stuff is really looked back on, it's gonna be kind of like, well, how the hell did y'all let that happen? Like,
if
wait a minute.
if the history books are not censored,
Yeah.
because you know what?
Yeah.
If we keep going in this direction, the
Mhm.
whole story will never be told. That's why we have to empower the resistance. I first of all want to just applaud you. And thank you for it. I was going to ask you who was affected, and I now see 2 of my good friends, Brother Al Green and
Jasmine Crockett.
one of the fiercest
yes, that's right.
politicians. They're going after them. It's not just because they want to get extra seats. Those 2 in particular, Al Green talking about impeachment, Jasmine taking down Marjorie Taylor Greene, they have special animus toward them. But one of the things I wanted to ask you, Santita, if it's okay, as we look at this, you said they're going to reduce the number of seats from Houston and Dallas, congressional seats, from 2 to 1 in each of
Black seats.
in those major cities.
Correct.
And how are they? What are they doing? Because I think a lot of people don't really understand how gerrymandering works. Are they taking votes away from those districts and putting Republican votes in those districts? Exactly how do they propose to do this?
Let me tell you.
And hold on, and that's in this first pass, Ariel and Rania, because if you pull the legal residents, and if you pull people who are not here legally, and then you have yet another redrawing of these congressional lines, what's going to happen then? I mean, think of
Supreme Court. I'm hoping that the Supreme Court, and I hope someone will take this to the Supreme Court, and that they will. There's no precedent for a mid-century.
But hold on. Let's let him answer that about these seats, because number one, Ariel and Rania, because I want to bring Rania in before she gets on the plane. You put a face on people who've been targeted, and that's just in Texas, Ariel and Rania. I mean, that's just in Texas. That's we don't know what else is going to happen in Ohio, which is where J.D. Vance is from, because he's in Indiana today, at least he was. Giuliani. This is a 50-state
Indiana, and he's going to go to Ohio, and then they're going to go to Missouri.
It's a 50-state strategy. They're enacting a plan clearly that they've already had. Representative Reynolds.
Yeah. So this what they're doing, Dr. Balbo, is they are what the term of art is. They're packing the blacks from those 2 districts into one. Then they're cracking other areas so that they then create a Republican district. When they said Trump said he wanted 5, they created 5 Republican seats. And so the one that they're reducing from the 9th congressional district under the new proposed map is a strong Republican seat that Al Green could never win. The same thing that they're doing in the 33rd congressional district in Dallas. It is now a Republican seat. So they redrew the line. The number is the same in terms of the 9th congressional district. It's still the number. But when you look at the map and you look at the way who the constituents are, first of all, Congressman Green and most of his almost all his constituents are out of the 9th congressional district. They're now in the 18th congressional district. And so what they've effectively done is took out the the African Americans that were spread out into 2 districts, put them into one, and now the other one that was left regrew that to a Republican seat, and that's what they've done through this gerrymander.
Ronnie, what do you think? What
Yeah.
will be the Democrats' response just nationally? What do you
Well,
think?
I just want to, I do want to just say one thing and then I'll answer the question, I promise. But I just want to tell people because history is important. Gerrymandering is also not new. Gerrymandering has a long racist history in this country. And in fact, we can stay on Texas because Ron and I both live in Texas. But if you look at the Texas congressional districts, I mean, before all this redrawing of the maps, they are the most messed up districts you've ever seen. You have districts that go way, and Texas is a really big state. If you haven't been to Texas, it's hard to understand just how big the state is. And you have these districts that go from way, way, way west to way, way, way south. You know, and there are these little skinny lines that run down the coast, you know, the border of the state. All of these things, all of this is so intentional and it's not new. And this is, and Santita, I know you've heard me say this, so many of the most atrocious things that happen in this country on the federal level start in state legislatures. Whether we're talking about gerrymandering, whether we're talking about anti-choice, whether we're talking about ridiculous, you know, voter ID laws, whatever, all these things happen at the state level and state legislatures. And it is always about oppressing BIPOC voices, Black and brown voices. That's what it's about. And that's what this is about too. And Representative Reynolds is 1,000,000% right. I got in our little chat and got all excited when he's talking about like the Democratic brand. The Democrat brand is in the, you know, in the pooper at the moment. And it is because people don't see Democrats fighting for everyday people that are hurting, that are struggling, that are in pain. And I think we've seen a lot of, it's hard to say it because I know this is so hard. And please, you know, hear what I mean, Representative Reynolds. I know y'all are in it. But I think we're seeing excitement because, my God, here are these Democrats in Texas, of all places, showing backbone. And I think what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing from my, you know, friends and colleagues and people in other states is people pointing to the Texas Democrats in the state legislature and saying, yeah, like that, just like that, 10 toes down, I'm showing up. I understand what the risks are. And you know what? It's worth it. It's worth it because we're standing up for all of our constituents and all of our communities who they are trying to silence.
But you know what? This is a virus because Ariel's in New York. We heard today former Governor Cuomo, who's now running for mayor, backed by billionaires. He said, you know, he alleges that he didn't have this talk with Trump, but it is alleged. Well, President Trump has said, okay, if Mom Donnie wins, I think I'm going to have to take over New York. You know, I mean, Ariel, this is like a real suppression of the people's will and voices.
But that's also Cuomo being very self-serving because he's trying to drive votes away from Mamdani into him by saying, I'd be better at managing Trump. No, he's in the same playbook that, what's his name? The guy who committed suicide, Epstein. He's in the same playbook as with anyway,
well,
never mind.
They're all in bed together, okay? Because this is what power is. And, you know, my brother Jonathan called it years ago a bipartisan betrayal. And we just, you know.
Absolutely.
So this is power, and that's how it is. But that having been said, you see this groundswell from the people who put Mamdani in as the Democratic nominee. It's someone who he won't be a shoo-in, but he has the momentum. And
but
I mean,
you have Cuomo, who's playing the same games. You have the sexual harasser, predator. Let me not go down the list; it would take too long.
But people don't care about.
No, they don't. Because how could they elect this president with his track record? How could you ignore the excellence of Kamala Harris, except for the core of your racism where people said they could not vote for her for any number of reasons, but it boiled down to race. And people, again.
Well, I mean, and don't forget gender now, because gender is.
Oh, yeah. Hillary couldn't win either. No, in fact, this patriarchy in this country, this patriarchy that's racist, homophobic patriarchy makes it impossible for anybody, frankly, but a white man to win the presidency of the United States.
I heard Shirley Chisholm, I heard her say with her own lips in my presence that when she ran for president, she thought that racism was going to be her biggest hurdle. But what blew her mind and broke her heart was that she said, I thought racism was going to be it. She said, but it was the sexism, because all these men, we love you, Ron, will come together on a woman. That's why I'm not surprised.
That's right.
You got a black man. She said a black man will get here before a white woman.
But
hold on,
I remember Shirley Chisholm's campaign. I remember Shirley Chisholm's campaign because the convention was in San Francisco. There was a big rally, and I remember, because I'm old. I've been around a long time. Praise the Lord.
I was a little girl. I'm not gonna, no front.
But I remember the white girls in the National Women's Political Caucus turning on Shirley Chisholm, did not want her to speak, gave her a speaking slot that was like nearly the end of this rally, which was downtown, and started getting cold because San Francisco. So white women ally with white men more than they will with black women.
They did that. Remember, they did that to Reverend in 1984 after Reverend got Ferraro on the ticket. Remember that?
No,
they would not support minorities.
The platform to make sure that there was equal representation for women, and then them,
he would not. They would not support. We had 4 minority planks in 1984 because the discussion had been for Reverend to get on the ticket because no one expected him to make it out the gate, let alone be in the top 3.
Oh, I just have to pipe in here. Let us not for one moment think that brief moment, because it was brief in the history of history. It was brief. Let us not think that brief Me Too moment changed anything so much more so than having a black president ended racism.
Well, I mean, now,
right? Because the pendulum swings back, and we go back to that same thing.
That's right.
And that's right. Sexism, misogyny, it is deep. And it takes more than because it was a quick hot moment to root that stuff out.
You know what, everybody?
Racism.
Hold on. Wait.
Built in.
Julian, hold on.
Yes,
We're gonna continue the discussion, but because of an edit, what I'm gonna have to do is give this last minute to Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds. Don't leave, everybody, because we're gonna go a little over, but just for the sake of station identification, I've got to give the last word to him, and then we're going to continue this discussion on the other side of this break. Representative Reynolds, what do you want us to know? You've given us so much. I don't even know.
Well, first of all, let me just say that I'm so grateful, as well as my colleagues are, for all of the support that we receive, all the prayers, all the outpouring of love on social media and emails, all of the earned media. And so I just want to thank you all for encouraging us. It helps because a lot of people are away from their families. There's a human element to it. They're away from their kids. There's been a lot of people who are suffering financially because they're away from their jobs. But this is a sacrifice that we've all agreed to undertake. So my ask is that you continue to be supportive and encouraging. But at the same time, I hope this stirs you up to be engaged in your own communities, because so goes Texas, so goes the nation. And as you see, they're not just stopping in Texas. They're going to Florida and Indiana. They may come to your state next, Missouri. So make sure that you understand that you may not be on the menu today. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be involved and engaged, but for the grace of God, it could be you tomorrow. So we're all in this together. United we stand, divided we fall. We're stronger together. Let's stand united, and let's do everything we can to fight the common oppressor, and that is the MAGA Trump administration.
And be very clear, it is you tomorrow, because what we have seen from the naming booths, because the president has said he is looking to have a mid-decade census, everybody. You do that every 10 years. It costs tens of millions of dollars to conduct. He is looking to do that. He's looking to redraw all of America. You need to be clear that that's what we're looking at right now. It is your state. We're all Texas. We're all Texans. Who? AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, the Santita Jackson Show. Hey, everybody. The Santita Jackson Show, AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. A little bit extra right here as we're talking about Texas. We're talking about a mid-decade, oh my goodness, a mid-decade US Census. Now, you know how much energy we have to put into a census. And with the money that they've been looking for, that the money that they say we do not have, you mean to tell me they're going to, Julianne, would you just go click and find out how much it costs to conduct the census? Would you just
hundreds of millions of dollars? In fact, they started planning for the 2030 census, which is the next legal census. They started planning for that actually in 2019. As the 2020 census was being collected, they started planning for who's going to do the work, because
10 years away.
They basically, you've got people deployed to go door to door. You've got the computer. It's a very complex process. And then because we know about the undercount that occurs in our communities, that also occurs in immigrant communities, a lot of people don't want to be counted by the census because they're afraid that if the census comes, that's going to be a problem. You got some of our underground economy people who haven't filed a tax return or who knows when. They don't want to talk to the census about their income. And so after the first layer is done, you get a thing in the mail, and those of us who respond to that, we respond. But then, after that happens, then they start going through and say, we didn't get anything from this house. And we know the house exists. We know people are in it because we've seen them. So where are they? So that's when the people start going door to door. And then even after that, there's yet another layer. So you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars, which we budget for every 10 years. So where are these hundreds of he doesn't want fraud, waste, and abuse. And that's his thing. They always talk about fraud, waste, and abuse. Having a mid-decennial census is fraud, waste, and abuse. It will cost hundreds of millions of dollars. They don't mind wasting money when it essentially advances their purposes, but when it this to them would be a blip. But it really is very troubling. How can they if they want to do something mid-decennial, that means 2025, that's now. That's now. Are they going to try to do something now? That's impossible. So what are we going to do in 2027? Well, they've already planning for 2030. So why don't y'all just sit down, shut up, and let the census happen in 2030 like it's supposed to? I'm not even sure how the state of Texas or any other state can change congressional lines like that. And I do think that this is a kind of thing that should be challenged at the Supreme Court level. Now, this man has appointed 2/3 of the Supreme Court, or they've allied with him, like Clarence Thomas, etc. But Roberts, he sometimes gets it right. I mean, even a broken clock gets it right twice a day. But I think he gets it right more frequently than that. This is really a slap in the face of the entire Constitution. I think he and Comey Barrett may be the ones that can save this if they can get it to the Supreme Court in time. See, what they're trying to do is rush this calendar because the next election is 2026. And right this minute, we're at, 2025. So how can they change this so quickly? And that's a big question. And I will leave it to people like Barbara Arnwine. I leave it to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund to look at this and say, how can we challenge this? And people, we cannot stand down. We simply cannot stand down. I'm so glad that Representative Reynolds mentioned the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. I mean, this is what it is. It's an attack on the voting rights of all citizens. It is absolutely, and the complicating factor also is this notion you're going to have a census without immigrants in it. Ariel, the social workers will tell you that census doesn't just do voting. It lets you know where hunger is, or homelessness is, how resources need to be deployed, what we need to do about education. How many young people are there under age 5, under age 16? And what does that mean for resource reallocation? So that basically, I said something yesterday, I'll say it again. The things they're doing to the economy and to society, it's like driving a car with a blindfold on and you have no clue where it's going. Or it's like driving a car and the gas gauge isn't working. And you just keep on going until the car runs out of gas. Driving a car with no speedometer. So you don't know if you're going 45 or 85. I mean, that's kind of where we are. So it said, but the cost of it, we do have to pay attention to the cost. I'm begging people to pay attention, please, people. A lot of people are just like, so I was talking to a friend yesterday and she said, I'm so tired of you talking about politics. I mean, I do kind of go over the edge every now and then, but not that often, I don't think.
Wait. She says that she must have a job. Well, she must be comfortable. Because
she's comfortable. Her husband, this is a sister who's married to a wealthy wife.
That's okay. Yeah. I mean, because the thing is, you know, and you're also out of touch, because I know some wealthy people who feel that this is a very dangerous time and that we can't talk enough about this, because, you know, that's why I had to ask Representative Reynolds, okay, what's the next step after you get arrested? Because the junior senator from the great state of California was pinned down on the floor. You remember, you saw that, Dr.
Yes, that was ridiculous.
On the ground. He kept saying, I am a U.S.
They jumped him. They jumped the brother.
After they escorted him in the room.
Exactly.
And then he kept saying, I'm a U.S. senator. They didn't believe this brown man. Remember that?
No, look at the sister from New Jersey that they knocked down. That they knocked down on the ground. And Bonnie Coleman, an elder, they didn't knock her down, but they grabbed on her. You know, like if that was my mama, I'd have to get my Roscoe out. I mean, this elder. But you know, they have no respect for any of us. They have no respect for position, if it's a Democrat in the position. So again, folks like Representative Reynolds, folks like Congressman Al Green, folks like Senator Cory Booker, we need to replicate y'all, because people are sick of Democrats because there are too many Democrats who are wusses. The only word you can call them is wusses. They have no backbone. They're trying to be quiet. I'll tell you all a funny story. I always have funny stories. A friend of mine, I pledged with her. Well, I didn't pledge with her. She tried to pledge. She dropped line. But anyway, she's a Republican. She works at one of the government agencies. She called me up one day, and we speak. I mean, I ain't mad at her. The fools are fools, even if they're your friends. But she called me. She said, Malvo, I need you to do me a favor. I said, what's that? She said, you need to tone it down. I said, I ain't said nothing. She said, you need to tone it down. And she said, your rhetoric is extreme. And she said, the reason that I'm telling you this is, she said, you might end up on one of the lists. I said, I might end up on one of the lists anyway. I ain't worried about it. I said, I have excellent attorneys. You know, I think she called me out of concern.
She did.
However,
but she doesn't even understand you are born on the list.
That is a truth.
I'm like, it's like, what are you doing? And the thing is, once you identify as someone who is Black, that becomes you identifying with those who are living under the boot of oppression. Because it's not just to Black people. Look at how they treated Dennis Kucinich. Look at how they treated John Brown. When you decide to identify, Rania, with people who live under the boot of oppression, people make it hard. The power structure makes you pay, period. And so we have to get, you know, that's why when people say, I want to elect someone who looks like me. Oh, no, I'm not with that.
You elect somebody who thinks
no. Yeah, I want to hear what your thinking is. And when I understand what your thinking is, when I understand where your heart is, then you can get my support. You know, I mean, I'm going to be with a Dennis Kucinich all day long, because Dennis grew up in a car with his 8 or 9 siblings and mom and daddy, and he never forgot it, and he behaves that way. He behaves that way. And so I'm going to be there. But
But we've got a lot of allies. There are a lot of allies who are down with us, and we have to honor them and appreciate them because basically they're stepping out of their box. Everybody's put in a box in the sky. They're stepping out of their box, like Bernie Sanders. I love me some Bernie Sanders. I mean, he is like ride or die progressive.
And has been with us a long time.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has.
I mean, I can never forget Casey Kasem, the great America's DJ.
Yeah.
We didn't even know, Rania, that he had gotten the bus on the weekends when he was not working on his shows. And he was registering Arab Americans to vote for Jesse Jackson in 1983. We looked up and we said, he's doing what? Well, we were so grateful. And the people who wanted to work on the campaign, because we had no money, they set up camp in his and Gene Kasem's beautiful home. They said they have to stay somewhere, but this is what we've got to do. Hey, y'all, wait a minute. We've got big work ahead of us. Because Rania, what concerns me, I know you're traveling, and I'm so glad that you're with us. I'm concerned about what happens if they arrest these representatives, what the next step will be. And I'm concerned, and I'm not going to wait for the Democratic Party because that's not, I'm not rocking with that. I want to get our young people involved in the process, and people who feel that they have been let down by all of government, right? Or just by everything. I want to find out how we need to do outreach to them and get them registered to vote. There are 900,000 people of color in the state of Texas alone who are unregistered, Rania. You live down there. I mean, how can y'all let almost 1 million people be unregistered to vote, Julianne? I mean, how did they do that?
As Reverend Jackson always said, the same hands that picked peaches can pick presidents. I mean, he always talked about voter registration, and then follow up, because we can register, but then we got to get them to the polls.
That's right.
There's so many people
and follow through after the election.
Absolutely,
that's what he has to do.
Most you can do. Voting is literally the least that you can do.
Yeah.
I mean, voting is step 1, but there's step 2, 3, and 4, and we've got to keep it up. We've got to keep the momentum. But there's so many people. I mean, as a representative said, who've been turned off by the process, who see Democrats as ineffective and Republicans as, and they're just like, I might as well stay home. And I've talked to so many people, I might as well stay home. I talked to a brother today. I was down the street, and I see him all the time. He sells that street scene newspaper, and we chitty chat a little bit. And some horrible things have happened here in the District of Columbia. First of all, that man would like to take over the District of Columbia. Yeah. He said so. I mean, he's verbalized it, and he has a chance of doing it. People are going to have to go to the courts. I mean, we have a strong mayor who's done good work. I differ with her from time to time, but she's standing up for the district. But they hold our budget. We can't spend our money, our tax money, without their acquiescence, the Congress's acquiescence. But in any case, well, we're gonna have to keep seeing, and they want to take away our statehood. That man has said he wants to repeal the Home Rule Act, and the Home Rule Act, which passed in 1974, is what gave DC the right to vote. DC did not have the right to vote. 750,000 of us did not have the right to vote, and he wants to repeal the Home Rule Act because guess what? DC, even though we're not Chocolate City anymore, we're chocolate chip, but we're if you go black and brown, if you go BIPOC, we're majority. And so he doesn't like that. And if he had his way, he'd take it over. And we can move on and on and on. Santita, I like my fellow panelists, I've got to jump to, but it's always.
Well, I love you. I just wanted everybody to continue to have their say before they left. I want to thank Rania Patrice. I called her in the airport. Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, our prayers and love with you and all of your people, because I think now, and of course, Ariel Gold, I think now we see what the stakes are. I mean, this is not performative, everyone. we have seen our highest elected officials pinned to the ground. This congresswoman in New Jersey has been indicted
Yes.
for checking on an event in her district. She said, "Who's being detained in this ICE detention center?" She's been indicted. So this is very serious business, and it is designed, everyone, to make you afraid.
Yes.
To
Fear is the operative word. My
That's what
sister,
it
thank you
is.
for the work you do. I appreciate you.
I
We'll
love you,
talk
Dr.
soon.
Melvo. How can we see you? We can hear you on WPFW every
W-
Monday morning from
Yes.
9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
WPFWFM.org, 9 a.m. Please join me. In fact, we're going to be talking about tariffs on Monday. We're going to start out talking about vacation time. Uh, Although a majority of people who work for corporate America have paid vacation, many people do not. And you go to France. France is closed down in August.
That's
Um,
it. Mhm.
and some countries have mandatory laws for vacation. We don't. So a lot of people. So we're going to talk about vacation time. Then we're going to talk about tariffs with a young brother who's done a report that looks at what tariffs will do, as just as we've been talking about, to prices and especially to manufacturing. So that's Monday mornings, and you can always check my not my Facebook page, although I have to start using it more. But you can always check my website out for my weekly columns, julianmalvo.com. julianmalvo.com. If you can spell me, you can find me. Sometimes that's great, but sometimes it's unfortunate. Sometimes folks start crawling out the closet. I dated you in 1983. You lying. Or either I have a bad memory or you were undistinguishable.
No, they never say that about you, hon. Ever.
Not hard to.
I love my Dr. Malvo. I
Love you
so
too,
much.
my sister. And thank you for this. This was good. And I'm so happy that we had the brother on, Representative Reynolds, because we need to just surround him not only with prayer, but with other things. And Jasmine, I mean, she's one of my favorite people. And for them to go after, well, they're going to go after all of us eventually. They're going to go after all of us.
Look, we're all here. I mean, nothing has changed. Look, we are from the civil rights movement. We're accustomed to surveillance. We are accustomed to having everything that we do, everything that we say tracked.
Exactly.
And that's it. All right, next. And Dr. King, Dr. King was called into J. Edgar Hoover's office, and he presented all of this blackmail on him. He said, "I've been following you, and I see this. You have done this, that, and the other." And Dr. King left that office and kept on going.
There you go. He wasn't scared. He ain't scared like
he might have been scared, but you know what? Because he had a wife and children, and he had a whole people he was carrying on him. But he found the courage in the face of that fear.
He had a backbone
to move forward. He had God.
That too.
With God, know that first. And with God, you can do anything. I love you, Dr. Malvo.
Take care of my sister. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.
Everybody, be of good courage. Be of good courage. This moment is designed to make you afraid. This government is of, for, and by you and me. If you want a monarchy, let these other people, let the oligarchy take it over. But if you want a republic for which you can stand, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, you have to get involved. You have to get involved. You might be afraid. There's nothing wrong with being afraid. The problem is when you don't, in that second beat, find the courage to do what you need to do. Fear is normal, but it's false evidence appearing real. The things that you were afraid of 5 minutes ago, you lived through it. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. I have been in so many situations where I've been frightened to death. I didn't want my father to come into that. I remember I was in college. I was a freshman, and we were at our convention in South Carolina, and we had so many bomb threats and death threats at this convention. I was a nervous wreck. Always afraid for my father's life, even as I tried to grow in my faith. And we had a big concert, Cameo. They were so big at the time. And they were appearing, and they had threatened to shoot and kill my father if he appeared at the concert. But we had thousands of kids there. It was a sold out theater. And so he appeared, knowing that somebody in the crowd might take him out. And he's done that so many times. He lived his whole life that way. And you know what? I learned a lot from that. Because you know what? I'm going to live until I'm out of here. I just want to do God's will. And that's all you ought to want to do. Just do God's will. If you want to be a free people, know that that your vigilance is required. Your eternal vigilance is required if you want liberty. That's what's required. This moment is designed to make you fearful, full of fear. It's supposed to freeze you, and you're supposed to not do anything. Hey, pay me whatever you want. I don't mind being poor. Oh no, just look, just give me a little bit. You can take my pension away. I'll just work until I die. Whatever. Don't let people treat you that way. Stop it. You are somebody. You deserve to be respected and protected, never neglected. You are somebody because you're God's child. So you pray for these people in Texas. Pray for the people of Texas. Pray for these representatives who have decided to stand up, not just for Texans, but for all of us. Because that's what this is. You see that as they've been pushing against the gerrymandering, and you're right, Solomon, it happens everywhere. But I don't agree with gerrymandering, period. I don't think that anybody should be cut out. I think that everybody should be represented in a meaningful way. All people should be counted. Everybody. So I'm not screaming. This is not partisan to me. This is patriotic. I don't care. I don't care if the Republicans or the Democrats do it. I'm not going to stand with you and do wrong. That's what, to paraphrase Frederick Douglass, I will stand with anyone who will do right, and I will walk away from anyone who's going to do wrong. I'm not feeling it. In this instance, you are seeing Republicans who don't believe in the republic, and they certainly don't believe in democracy. They just want a power grab, and they want a power grab to jam you, Solomon, and everybody else. They're undercutting our Social Security. There is no safety net for you. They have a backdoor on Social Security so they can privatize it. That's what they've done. The big, beautiful bill, that's what they did. And they have more than $10 billion in there for private space exploration. That's SpaceX. That's Artemis. That's Jeff Bezos. That's Elon Musk. All these folks who are sending their friends up into space or whatever it is that they're doing. There's money in that. There's money in that bill for that. There's money in there, money in that bill for a whole lot of things. Everybody but you. You're the ones. We're the ones who took the $1 trillion health care cut. So you're going to see a lot of people around here getting sick and dying. A lot of folks are not going to have teeth. A lot of people are going to have illnesses that really, if you were able to get an inhaler, or if you were able to get some medicine, you wouldn't be sick. You wouldn't be walking around feeling horrible. All that's going to happen because we have gutted healthcare in this country. And even with the best of healthcare, you are an illness away from bankruptcy or certain death. Shameful. Shameful. And that ought not be something that is satisfactory to you. You ought to be tired of that. Stop making this about Democrats and Republicans, at least not on this show. I don't do that. I'm tired of that. I have seen too much, everybody, to think that this is simply about a party. No, it's not. This is about power. In the 70s, a man named Robert Strauss was chairman of the Democratic National Committee and the Republican National Committee. Need I say more? Look him up, Robert Strauss. These folks float from party to party to party. They just do their thing. But what they don't do is float out of power. You ought to demand that any president, whatever party they are a part of, that they serve you. See, President George Washington knew where this two-party system was going. That's why he was against it. That's why he was not a member of a party. He said it's going to end in despotism and tyranny. You will have undue foreign influence. The common good, the public good, will be undermined. It will be shredded because you'll be more loyal to the party than you will be to the people. Is that not what we're seeing? So please, spare me the partisan talk. That's a bunch of gobbledygook as far as I'm concerned. I just want someone who's going to serve the people. I want to create a floor beneath which no human being should fall. I think we need more than 900 plus thousand hospital beds in the United States of America. There are more than 340 million of us here. We only have 900,000 plus beds. We ain't got a million hospital beds in the United States. You ought to be concerned about that. We are closing schools. We're trying to figure out how we can have fewer doctors and fewer nurses and fewer tradesmen and women. We're trying to figure that out. We're trying to figure out how we can keep people out of school instead of getting people into school. Because if we keep people uneducated and unskilled, whether you're in the trades or whether you're in the academic professions, that makes you powerless. It disempowers you. That's what this is about. These people want to keep you ignorant. They want to keep you misdirected. That's why you look at corporate media, and if they say something, you better investigate and verify. Because I'm telling you, they keep on telling you about what happened in New York last week. And if Blackstone did not think that they were the targets, they would not have closed their building for a full week. One of their CEOs was killed, not an employee. Wesley LePatner was the CEO of their real estate trust. Tenant organizations and people all over the country are furious about not being able to access affordable housing, be it rental or purchasing a home. On the cover of the New York Post, God bless this woman. So she was a wife and a mother. And no, she was a human being. She didn't deserve to be killed. That having been said, when they had her on the cover of the New York Post, the next day after she was killed, they put Luigi'd up there because they're real clear on what happened. And if you look at social media, they were all talking about it. But the corporate media wants to lead you to believe. They want to lead you to believe that, it was the NFL. Then if the NFL was accessible to this man, why did he only find the CEO of Blackstone and then two people, and then somebody else who was in Rudin Management? Rudin Management, they're the biggest landlords in New York. Real estate was his focus. Wake up, everybody. What did Teddy Pendergrass sing? With Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No time for backward thinking. You got to think ahead. You need to start thinking. Start thinking. And everybody, get over your racism, your misogyny, all these forms of classism. They're not serving us well. It's keeping us apart. Get over it. Everybody's been infected with this racist, sexist bug. Everybody. The question is, what do you do with the second impulse? After you have experienced your prejudices and your biases, and yes, your racism and your misogyny and your sexism and all of the isms, because we've all been taught that. What do you do next? Do you not admit that you have the sickness? Everybody got the bug. And are you going to decide to get over it? To work through it? How about that? Get over it. Have you decided that everybody deserves to eat, whether they work or not? I don't care if you work or not. I think that every child, when they go to school, I don't care how rich or how poor you are, you ought to have a great meal. You ought to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, just to make sure that folks are eating. And hey, by the way, check on their parents too. Nobody should not eat. Nobody. Nobody should live in squalor and filth. Nobody should go to work should be working in a place and you can't afford to rent in the same town or city that you're working in. Come on, everybody, this is not right. And people are getting tired of it. You ought to be tired of it. So, I've said enough. And I love you all so much. And I'm going to keep on going. But I'm going to tell you, everybody get on over it. Everybody's a little crazy, a little bit sick. Everybody. Now the question is, what do we do next? What do we do next? What do we do next? You can't help but be infected by this bug of racism and sexism and misogyny and all of these isms. They're baked in the cake. They're in the culture. What's next? Stop talking about it, be about it, and get over it. Come on. And demand that your representative, whether they are Republican or Democrat, red or blue, I don't care. Purple, bruised up, I don't care. Demand that they represent the best interest of the people, not just you, but your neighbor. See, if your neighbor's happy, and if you're in a neighborhood full of happy people, you can be happy too. Grow up in your politics, everybody. We all must. We all need to make sure that everybody's all right. My neighbor shouldn't be hungry if I've got food in my cupboard. Think about that. I think about my grandma Helen, who one Christmas, her father tells this story, will tell it every Christmas, and I can never forget it, because I met Mr. Dave, who was their neighbor, my grandmother's neighbor, before she and my great-grandmother and grandfather moved out the neighborhood when I was a teenager. But I met all these old people who had this tremendous impact upon my father and my uncle's lives. And they were humble people. And Mr. Dave couldn't read or write. But my grandmother was an educated woman. In fact, she had turned down a full scholarship when she got pregnant with my father. She had a full scholarship to college. And so she became like the neighborhood social worker. And in the 40s, relief, welfare, so, which they used to call relief, you could apply for it. But Mr. Dave couldn't fill out his papers. So my grandmother filled them out for him. Didn't think about it because she wanted him to get his money. And my grandfather lost his job. And my great-grandmother was just pulling together whatever she could. They had no money this particular Christmas. But they went to church anyway, and they were going to figure out a dinner and just be grateful that God had given them another day. When they got home, though the back porch was filled with groceries. And my grandmother knew that they hadn't purchased them, so she had to put them, I guess, in the cooling cupboard that they had at the time. Because they were not going to eat it, because it didn't belong to them. They were just waiting for to find out whose food it was. Mr. Dave came over later that day, and he said, Miss Helen, that was my grandmother's name, you need to get on these boys. They shouldn't be so lazy. Because I see some of these bags are still out. That which they couldn't put in the cupboard, and that which could hold, they still had on the back porch. She said, don't get after the boys this time, Mr. Dave. Somebody brought some groceries here. They don't belong to us. But we're gonna find out who they are. We've been asking around. He said, the groceries belong to you. You see, Miss Helen, I got my relief check. And I knew you and Charlie Henry were having a tough time, but I just wanted to say thank you. So Merry Christmas. God bless him, God bless him, God bless him. We should all have that kind of compassion for people. My pastor's wife, Mrs. Luther May Evans, said, you never know what life is going to hand to you. You know where you've been, but you don't know where you're going. Let's have some compassion for each other. Let's love each other. Let's do that. Let's do that. Understand it's a new world. Solomon, you said, I saw in some of your comments a little bit earlier, you said, I wish China would try it. Baby, with 340 million people. There are 1.5 billion people that they've told us about. They are the biggest economy in the world. Are you serious? America's not the big dog anymore. We're not. It's not us versus the world, it's us and the world. The dominant culture in the world, yeah, it's the United States, there's no question about it. Fueled by black genius. No question about it. We created everything here: blues, jazz, country, all of it. Pop, all of it. K-pop is black music. Thank you, Joe Jackson and the Jackson Five and Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers and the Temptations and all that, the Four Tops and all of that. It's a new world. And we're going to have to start participating in the world as if we want to be a part of the world. We don't have the right to lord over anyone. We don't have the right to take anyone's oil or anyone's resources. These people would like to work with us, but they're not willing to be lorded over by us. Stop the starvation in Gaza. We're the ones who are sponsoring that. So they can say what the obvious. Prime Minister Netanyahu said, we're going to take over Gaza. Really? We knew that was the plan all the while. That was always the plan. But it won't work. And it won't work because it's unjust. Haven't you learned already that if something is not right, it's not going to work? Have you not figured that out? Think about that. You're not going to go anywhere being wrong. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So everybody think about that. I love you. I have had a wonderful time with you today, and I want to thank you. Solomon, let me just answer a couple of these questions before I get out of here, or respond to some of your comments. You said Trump said today that illegals will not be counted in the next census, so the Democratic district lines will increase for more Congress people. Honey, it's not even about Democrats or Republicans, and you'll see after they throw you over the bus, because that's what they're going to do. Trust me. This is not about the Democrats and the Republicans. We do not have mid-decade redrawing of lines. We don't have mid-decade censuses. The census has always counted everybody within the borders, so you can know where to allocate resources. You've got students here. You've got legal residents here. You have people who are waiting on their citizenship. All of them matter. Not just so-called undocumented people. Everybody's undocumented here. Ain't nobody here indigenous to the United States, except indigenous people and black people who were dragged here. That kind of arrogance, you got to watch it, Solomon. And I'm so glad that you're part of the family, but I'm here to tell you that hubris that you would dare call someone illegal. Now, should you come to this country legally and in the proper way? Yeah, but you must look at these corporations that are bringing these people in so they can work for cheap, because that's what this is for. This country was built on enslaved labor. This is how we get down. This is what we do. We enslave people. We make them work for far less than their labor is worth. That's how we do this. That's how we've been able to build America. But in order for us to build the right America, you need to pay people a prosperity wage. This ought to be a country where everybody's prospering. You've seen other countries who struck oil, if you will. Yeah, who bumped into their riches. They decided the most prosperous countries, the UAE. Yes. However you think, whatever you think about their governance, when they hit oil, when they hit pay dirt, the king said, okay, I'm going to make sure that the mothers and the unborn will be taken care of. I'm going to build universities. I'm going to make sure that everybody has a basic income. That's what Gaddafi did. You got married, you got $50,000. You wanted to go to school, he would pay for you to go to school any place in the world. They eliminated poverty there. And then we eliminated him because we wanted his gold. Because he was one of the three largest holders of gold on earth. That's why we killed him. You think we're going to be blessed for that? Dr. King said that our hubris would get us, would destroy us. And we're on path for that until you decide to go another way. And Mr. Powell can go in all of it. I don't agree with the Fed anyway. I never understood that because it's not a federal agency. They're private banks. So we can have that discussion another day. Now, and just when you're saying lies, I don't know if you talked about Solomon, because we don't traffic in lies here. We don't do that. Russia. I don't want to hear about it, girl. Bernadette. Russia is not thinking about us, and they don't have that kind of power. The most powerful and fastest growing economy in the world is China. Okay? That's the real part. So understand what we're really dealing with. What we're really dealing with. China is the real. It's Japan and China. They're our biggest creditors. Okay, so just be clear on what we're dealing with. It's a little bit bigger than what we've got. The kill switch that could take out our grid is controlled by China, and they know that. They know the kind of power that they have. Part of the reason that we're in the position that we're in now with these tariffs is because we don't build anything anymore. We build bombs. When was the last time you wanted to buy a bomb? We don't need that. You need some shelter. You need a school. You do not need a bomb. But that's what we build. We don't have a sector where we're employing people. The jobs are gone. Don't you remember Ross Perot? And he said, the problem that we've got with NAFTA is that I hear a giant sucking sound. Do you remember that? Well, we're going to watch jobs sucked out of the United States of America. And guess what? That is what has happened. The jobs are gone. Think about that. And guess what? Our greedy oligarchs took the jobs out. Because I remember when Reverend Jackson said, hey, this NAFTA would be a disaster. And that is what has happened. NAFTA's been a disaster for us. And this is from the US Express. I want to read this article to you. China's biggest threat to US is a tech kill switch. Okay? A cybersecurity expert has delivered a chilling alert that China represents the greatest technological threat to Western countries, possessing the ability to trigger a kill switch on America's power grid at will. In response to this disclosure, the United States has initiated numerous probes into Chinese-made technology, with various investigations revealing malicious, mysterious computer codes that can be remotely triggered to disable critical infrastructure. And you know what? China's not the only one. Some of our best friends are holding us hostage technologically. Think about that. So while everybody's screaming about Russia's economy can't compete with ours. They've got a strong economy, though. Be real clear. But China is, they're the ones who are squeezing us out of these trade deals all over the world. Because while we're making war, they're making friends. While we're making war, they're cutting deals. When President Trump was in his first term, he reached out to President Carter, who was alive at the time, obviously. And he said, because when you get into a place, you see things that other folks don't tell you. He said, America is not growing. According to this press report, America is not growing the way it should. I mean, and I'm seeing China just grow all over the place. He said, President Carter responded to him, well, guess what? We're at war everywhere, but they're building hospitals and schools and airports. And they are building relationships with people all over the world. Think about that, everybody. We're not building friends in all of the Middle East. Don't look at the kings and the people who head up these Arab countries. No, no, no. Their people are angry with them about how they have not stood up for the Palestinians. Be very, very clear. We are very alone on that issue. Very alone. And while we're looking at the starvation in Gaza, you need to look at the starvation in the Sudan. More than 100,000 people died over the past couple of months. 100,000 of starvation. I want you to think about that. Think about that. The Epstein story, there's more to that story. It's not just about sex trafficking, although that is a horror. And those people need justice. Do you know they targeted poor white girls, working class white girls, whose parents could not or would not confront these people, or certainly they just didn't know. Or they probably felt that Epstein and Trump and all these people were too big for them to touch. Because a predator knows who to go after. They know their prey. But he was also working for intelligence agencies. So what agencies was he working for? And what did they extract from some of the most influential people in America for their silence? Because they've been caught in compromising situations. Think about that, everybody. Think about that. So don't just fall for the shell game. While they're talking about these girls, and they're not even thinking about trying to protect these girls. They don't care about that. They don't care. No, they don't. They don't. And a list, yeah, everybody's on it because sadly, people in power, what did Chris Rock say, that a man is as faithful as his options? These folks do what they want to do because they can. So just let that go. Do we need justice for these young women? And I'm sure a fair amount of boys who've been abused. Absolutely. Absolutely. But you also need to find out who this man was working for and who he compromised and to what end. Who was he working for? And why did they need to compromise our elected officials? What did they need from America? Because I tell you what, America has not been the winner. America has been hurt. We've lost prestige all over the world. Lost it all over the world. And when you lose trust, when you lose prestige, it's hard to get it back. Hard. So get clear on what this story is. And yeah, we need to find out not just about the sex trafficking of these children, and because that happens all over the world. And it happens a lot here in the United States. And a lot of the elites are involved in it, and that's real. And they're going to cover each other. But you ought to be disgusted by that. That ought to bother you. That having been said, you need to look at the other piece. Who was this guy? Who was this guy? Who was he working for? Who was staying in his house? I mean, all that. Ask all those questions. Like you need to ask what happened in New York. Why Blackstone? No. Why did the New York Post say that Mrs. LePatner was Luigi? Ask the questions, everybody. Ask the questions. Start thinking critically. That is the only way that we're going to save ourselves. Otherwise, we are going to be the sheep led to the slaughter. And I know you don't want that. Freedom ain't free. You got to work for it every day. My grandmother Gertrude said, the older you get, the more you have to fight to live. You have to fight. And you have to fight to save this country. You got to fight. And this country is worth saving. As crazy as this country is, we've come up with something great here. I wouldn't be anything other than an American. I love this country. I wouldn't be anything other than an American. I love this country. I love it. That's why I push for it to become all that it's supposed to be. That's why I push for America to be what America is supposed to be. Even as America has not been what America was supposed to be for me. I will find this poem for you, and then I am going to go. I've had the longest rant, and I know Paula loves it. Paula loves it when I rant. I'm not just ranting, everybody. It's just there's a lot on my mind, a lot that I've been thinking about, and a lot that we need to fight for. We have the power. We are the ones with the power here. We have more power than we have ever known. But you can't sit on it. You cannot sit on it. What is it? America was never America to me. This is from the great bard of Harlem, Langston Hughes, great man of Omega Psi Phi, my father's fraternity. And he wrote this poem, and I want you to take this to heart, everybody. America, let America be America again. Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain seeking a home where he himself is free. America was never America to me. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be the great, strong land of love where never kings connive their tyrant scheme. Let any man be crushed by one above. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be the land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me. No freedom in this homeland of the free. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor, white, fooled, and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek and finding only the name, the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. I am the young man full of strength and hope, tangled in that ancient, endless chain of profit, power, and gain, of grab the land, of grab the gold, of grab the ways of satisfying need, of work the men, of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed. I am the farmer, bondsman to the soil. I am the worker sold to the machine. I am the Negro servant to you all. I am the people, humble, hungry, and mean. Hungry yet today, despite the dream. Beaten yet today, oh pioneers, I am the man who never got ahead. The poorest worker bartered through the years. Yet I'm the one who dreamed our basic dream in the old world while still a serf of kings. Who dreamt a dream so strong, so brave, so true, that even its mighty daring sings. Every brick and stone, and every furrow turned, that's made America the land it has become. Oh, I'm the man who sailed those early seas in search of what it meant to be my home. For I'm the one who left dark Ireland's shores and Poland's plain and England's grassy lea, and torn from black Africa's strand, I came to build a homeland of the free. The free? Who said the free? Not me. Surely not me. The millions on relief today, the millions shot down when we strike, the millions who have nothing for our pay, for all the dreams we've dreamed and all the songs we've sung, and all the hopes we've held and all the flags we've hung. The millions who have nothing for our pay except the dream that's almost dead today. Oh, let America be America again. The land that never has been yet, and yet must be. The land where every man is free. The land that's mine, the poor man's, Indians, Negroes, me, who made America, whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain, must bring back our mighty dream again. Sure, call me any ugly name you choose. The steel of freedom does not stain. For those who live like leeches on the people's lives must take back our land again. America. Oh, yes, I say it plain. America was never America to me, and yet I swear this oath America will be. Out of the wrath and ruin of our gangster death, the rape and rot of graft and stealth and lies, we the people must redeem the land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, the mountains and the endless plain, all the stretch of these great green states, and make America, America again. Think about that, everybody. The great bard of Harlem, Langston Hughes, said that this land is your land, this land is our land, from California to the New York Island. This land was made for you and me. And the only way this American project is going to work is if we come together and make it work. And we can do it. And the only way that we're going to do it is if we come together and make it work. It's our country. I love you all. And I want to thank you in a special way for those people who don't agree with what might be the predominant view on the panel. Just let's stay engaged with one another. Because whether you like it or not, we are family. And that's just how it goes. I love you, everybody. I hope you'll meet me on Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson on Sunday. Go to your iHeart app and just key in Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. We'll be right there. And meet us at Rainbow Push on Saturday. If you're in town in Chicago, 930 East 50th Street, the people from Texas will be there. Ooh. And go to rainbowpush.org and catch us. We'll be streaming live there. And you don't want to miss this, everybody. You don't want to miss it. Get on board, get on board. Love you, Andre, Carol, Paula, Mark. That's right. What you say? Idealism, truth, magic wand. So much will be better. Let us do better. That's right. And we shall have a better day. We will. I believe that. I believe in us. I believe in us. And I believe in you. And I believe in we. I love you, everybody. God bless you. Have a great one. The Santita Jackson Show, AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. God bless you.